the Miller Coors Urban Entrepreneur Series.
I'm Raquel Robinson, and I'd like to welcome you to the Muse Becoming a Supplier to Fortune 500 Companies webinar. We will focus on leveraging assistance agencies along with understanding the difference between selling and stalking. Our panel today consists of Alfred Edmond, Senior Vice President and Editor-at-Large at Black Enterprise Magazine; Sheila Hill Morgan, President of the Chicago Minority Supplier Development Council; and Thang Goche, an Entrepreneurship Fellow at the Levy Institute within the Kellogg School of Management at Northwestern University. What type of assistance is available to small business owners in order to become suppliers of Fortune 500 companies? There are a lot of acronyms, so can you help walk us through that?
Let me just say that it is really important that as a minority-owned business, or as a diverse business, that you identify where your assistance can come from. And there are some organizations that will support you. For example, the Chicago Minority Supplier Development Council, CMSDC, the Women's Business Development Center, WBDC, the Minority Business Development Agency, MBDA, are all agencies that focus very specifically on developing diverse businesses. Two of the agencies are very targeted and specific to minorities or ethnic people. One of the agencies is very targeted and focused on women business owners. Nevertheless, having said that, those agencies will help you to identify major corporations that have a specific interest in working with those organizations. Those organizations, very specifically CMSDC and NMSDC, will help you to hone your skills as a minority business owner. They also, in addition to that, will help the major corporations as they are focusing on identifying companies that they can bring into their space that are ready, and we've talked a little bit about what ready means, to do business with them. So finding agencies that will help your organization, your corporation to grow is really important.
To continue our conversation about assistance to small business owners, are there trainings or any education programs that would help a small business owner?
Entrepreneurs have to be committed to self-education. They really do. In fact, I tell people entrepreneurship is the ultimate continuing education. I don't know any entrepreneur, I don't know any business owner that's not constantly trying to gain new knowledge, either formally or informally. For the small business owner, not only are there many free programs offered by some of the agencies that are already mentioned earlier, workshops, on everything from procurement to financing to sales, but a lot of local colleges and universities have great entrepreneurship training programs. A lot of the business schools do too. But even if you don't want to go for formal training, and I urge entrepreneurs to pursue formal training, then there's informal or self-training. You should be reading, and I tell the people I mentor, at least one book a month about some aspect of running a business. The whole by the seat of the pants style of entrepreneurship went out a century ago. You really have to be committed to understanding accounting, to understanding human resources, and so you got to commit to that kind of education. The other kinds of education are, and this is going to be self-serving, but there's plenty of great business media for you. You should be reading Black Enterprise, you should be reading Hispanic Business, you should be reading Fortune and Forbes. There's great websites, blackenterprise.com being one of them. There's now digital media for your iPad, there's apps you can get. So there's no excuse, frankly, for pleading ignorance as an entrepreneur. As a CEO, part of your hours, your 40 or 50 or 60 hours a week needs to be devoted to constant self-education. And let's not even get into education about your particular industry, which leads me to my second point, networking. A lot of what you need to know is not going to be knowledge that you carry yourself. It's going to be the knowledge of your networks. There's two different kinds of networks. There's the dense network of people who are close to you, your family, your friends, your coworkers, people you went to school with. But the problem with that network is they tend to know the same things that you know. So they're great for good moral support, but they're not great for giving you information you need to grow your business. So you need to develop what I call sparse networks. And these are people who you may not be that close to, but they're in the areas of knowledge that you need. They may not be the same gender as you. They may not be the same race as you. They may not come from the same socioeconomic background and went to the same schools, but that's good because they're going to have pockets of knowledge that you don't have. So the worst thing you can do as an entrepreneur is isolate yourself. To avoid that, you need to be going to industry conferences, not somebody on your staff. You need to go. You need to be, for example, at the Black Enterprise Entrepreneurs Conference. You need to be at NMSDC. I'm not going to tell you the acronym the way you did. Has events both local and national. You need to be present. You also need to be active online in social media. I'm a big Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn fan because you can get access to tons of information. So whether it's face-to-face networking or social networking, isolation is your enemy, because a lot of what you need to know, you're going to have to learn from other people, so you don't have to constantly reinvent the wheel.
Let's talk now about being persistent in your business endeavors. But there's a difference between selling and stalking. So how do we make that distinction between persistence and not pressure?
Well, I like to use the analogy of certain family members. Sometimes you see the caller ID and you can't wait to pick up the phone. Sometimes you see the caller ID and you know you're going to ignore it. You're going to let it go to voicemail. The difference between those two things is who did you perceive as calling because they're trying to do something for you, and who's calling because they want you to do something for them. And I find that's the line between persistence and pressure. If your outreach to companies, your outreach to potential clients is really built around you recognizing a need and making an offer, not a demand, but an offer to serve that need, those types of inquiries are pretty much welcome. You're thinking about me, you're thinking about what my company can use. And as long as you're not, bugging me every other day, I'm interested in at least hearing what your offers are. If every time you call it's, I need you to give me a contract, I need you to give me some business, I need you to do something for me, those are the people that become annoying. And at some point, you burn the bridge and that company may never do business with you, even if you do ultimately have something they could use. So you always got to put yourself in the other person's shoes. When someone's approaching you, what are they approaching you for? Are they trying to help offer something to meet your needs, or are they just trying to take care of themselves? You don't want to be perceived as that person that's constantly asking, but not offering to do something that's going to benefit the company.
How do you know when to move on in your pursuit of becoming a supplier with an organization?
There's some subtle nuances. If you're calling and calling and calling and calling and calling and companies are not responding to you, chances are they're not going to be responsive to you. I think time is money. And as a small business, as a minority business, as an entrepreneur, you really don't have the time to keep chasing your tail and chasing something that's not going to provide you with a return on investment. So if it's not within the company's business cycle, and you should have already identified that, right? You've done your homework. I'm selling you something and the company's not buying that for another couple of years. Just let the contract. There's no reason for you to continue to pursue that business. So a part of knowing when to move on is understanding what the corporation's needs are. Doesn't matter what your needs are or how good you are at selling whatever it is you are selling. What matters is how you fit into the needs of the corporation that you are selling. And if all the indications for you are, I'm not buying what you are selling, then I need to keep you in my portfolio and I need to have touch points. When I come back to you, maybe in 6 months, maybe in a year, if I understand your cycle, I'll know when the right time is for me to come back. But I need to understand the corporation's business, what their needs are, how they match with me, and if there's not a fit, I need to move on.
Thank you very much for joining the Muse Becoming a Supplier to Fortune 500 Companies webinar, part 3 of 3. I'd like to thank all of our panelists for their information today and remind you to apply for the business plan competition this year. I'm Raquel Robinson.
The Miller Coors Urban Entrepreneur Series. Your life, your time, your business. What are you waiting for?